It's time for the Bassmaster Classic. It's just around the corner if you're watching this video, and we are going to do the breakdown for the Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing for the Bassmaster Classic on Lake Harwell, Greenville, South Carolina. Before we get into the picks, I want to cover a few things. If you're not part of the Beat HellaBass group yet, make sure you join. Go over to Bassmaster groups, scroll down, Beat HellaBass, password, all capital letters, Visor. Join the group. You'll be eligible to win some great Omnia gift cards, $25 gift cards, every event, plus a big prize for the end of the year. So it doesn't matter if you join late, you can still play for individual prizes, individual events for both regular fantasy fishing and Drain the Lake. Speaking of winners, I haven't heard back from my winners of St. John's or Harris Chain. So if you guys got emails and you didn't respond to me, you're not getting your prizes. So check your spam folders. If you won, you were at the top. Get back to me. If you didn't get an email, shoot me a message somehow on Instagram or Facebook in case they're not getting to you. But let's get to the bottom of this. Let's get you your Omnia gift cards. Congratulations to Scott Hill. He won the fantasy fishing prize from the Harris Chain for his picks. He scored almost 1,400 points. Taking a look at his roster, he had Cox, Perch, Martin, Benton, and Kenta Kimura. He literally had every angler in the top 10. Nice job, Scott. Plus, he got big bass bonus points from John Cox. And for Drain the Lake, congratulations, Jay Goss. You won the prize as well. Almost 2,400 points for Drain the Lake. And he's in the top 5 overall for all of Drain the Lake. So he's sitting really good right now. Here's his roster for Harris Chain, Hackney, Lester, Cox, Fouts, Gross, Schmidt, Martin, and Strassner. Some solid picks. I don't feel like he burned too much. Maybe I would have liked Fouts and Gross to keep him around for Chickamauga, but hey, he got the win here and got the double points for Buddy Gross, so no complaints there. All right, both you guys, I sent you guys both emails today. Make sure you apply so you can get your Omni gift cards. Don't worry if you didn't win. There's still more chances to win every week and the season end prize. And don't worry, you can always use the code down below in the description to save yourself 15% at Omnia Fishing. All right. My team took a little bit of a dip, but not so bad. We're still almost at 85%. We're still in the dark green, which, hey, no complaints there. Again, John Cox saved my team with his big bass antics and bonus points at the Harris Chain. Those 40 points got me over 1,000 and kept my head above water and kept me up in the big green. Otherwise, had 2 guys in the final day, only 3 guys in the top 50 cut, 2 guys that just missed the cut. Welcher and Shryock weren't the greatest picks, but hopefully we live and learn and move on from there. Actually faring quite better in Drain the Lake at almost 93%. We're sitting pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with that. And that is a season-long game, so this is the long play of the strategy. So just keeping your hanging in there, and so we'll see if we can keep this going. Had one bad. Hudnall didn't work out. He was in the 90s. Otherwise, everybody else was 60th and above. So some solid points, no breakouts, no bonus points. It really is key. If you can get the winner in Drain the Lake, that's going to pay huge dividends all season long. All right, looking ahead at the Classic. We've got a few things coming up. Thursday, the 24th, 25th, and 26th, I think is the pre-practice, official practice for these anglers. They're going to be out in the water. It looks like they're going to have pretty good weather for that. And they're going to be we've had moderate weather, we're going to have a little bit of cool dip, and then we're going to have a slight warm up, but not super hot. I think it's going to be like pretty good weather, right? It's not going to be super cold like when the trailers were freezing to the bunks in 2015 when Casey Ashley won. It's not going to be super warm where they're almost spawning like the year Jordan Lee won, but I think it's going to be a nice mix. They're going to be chewing. I think water temps are in the upper 40s right now, so they should probably be creeping into the low 50s for this tournament. They're going to have a pretty good mix of sun, overcast, wind without any extreme conditions one way or the other, which I think will set up for a really good tournament. So look at that and think about the kind of guys that you want to fish. I think both offshore and staging fish are going to play. So I think it's really going to be a question, is somebody going to go up the rivers and catch big largemouth, or big spots and a combination on the lake going to play big? So this is the 4th Bassmaster Classic on Lake Harwell since 2008. In 2008, Elton Jones won it fishing deep standing timber with a football jig, had just under 50 pounds at 49 pounds 7 ounces. In 2015, Cassie Ashley won a really cold, true winter. He was fishing like really deep fish with like a horsey head, underspin, swim bait type stuff, and had just over 50 pounds. And then most recently in 2018, Jordan Lee won his 2nd of back-to-back classics, and he won it fishing kind of coves. And I think the final day he was fishing a lot of like stick worms and stuff like their own docks. Those fish were warming up and they were on the move, and that was 47 pounds even for 3 days. Both those first 2 were in late February. Jordan Lee's was more mid to late March. So this is going to be like halfway in between both those tournaments this year. There's only 3 anglers that have fished all 3 of those classics and are fishing this one: John Cruz, Greg Hackney, and Gerald Swindle. So if you're looking for the guys with the most classic experience on Hartwell, those are 3 guys to look at. Cruz was 16th, 33rd, and 31st. Hackney was 5th, 26th, and 35th. Swindle, 21st, 27th, and 10th. So all pretty decent finishes. Hackney was the only one that really ever threatened to win one with that top 5. But overall, pretty consistent anglers. They've seen all these different phases of all these different tournaments on Hartwell. The only difference now is I believe Hartwell's a little more full pool. They don't draw it down nearly as much in the winter, so there might be a little more water, which makes me think some of that largemouth play might play a little harder. But we'll see. Will it be the spots on the lake or largemouth up the rivers? When you're doing your research, you got those 3 classics to look out. You also have the 2019 Bassmaster event, but that was in April, which was a spawning event. So I wouldn't put too much credence into who did well in that, the one that Brandon Cobb won, sight fishing in April. But you also have a 2011, 2012, 2014, and 2016 FLW tour tournaments, which you can look up on the MLF website. Those were all March tournament. Ashley, Christie, Cox, and Ayler won those tournaments, and they were all a little bit different. Cox and Christie definitely won with largemouth. Ayler leveraged offshore stuff, and so did Casey Ashley. So it was kind of a 50-50 split in those 4 March FLW tournaments. Well, enough about that. Let's get into the picks. As I always like to do, we're going to start in Bucket E. This is where you're going to find the college angler, most of the Bass Nation anglers, the Opens anglers, and a couple people that were a little bit lower on the list. A couple interesting things to know here. Keith Tuma, he's from Minnesota. He won an Open in Florida. You got Mark Frazier in this bucket, who's an second-year Elite Series pro. His brother, Micah Frazier, actually had some really good tournaments in the FLW days, fishing Hartwell in March. So I don't know if that transitions. You really can't get information from them, but if they fish the same, maybe that's something you could pick up on. Frazier also did well in the Hartwell Fall Open, but that was late in the year, so that's not really the same, but he's got some experience on the lake. Hamner also fished that tournament. KJ Queen doesn't live too far away. Taylor Smith finished second in a Bass Nation Championship in November on Hartwell. Not sure that's really going to play, but he's definitely not new to the lake, and he's seen the water before. So these are all nuggets you can kind of stew over. I really was torn between Mark Frazier and Justin Hamner. In the end, I went with Hamner. I just feel like he's got a little more upside, a little bit more of a dark horse. I think he's really good with spots and largemouth. Being an Alabama angler, I just got a good feeling about Hamner in Bucket E. Bucket D has some interesting anglers in here. Robertson, definitely a threat anywhere he goes. Matty Wong, a rookie Bass Nation Championship. Caleb Summerall actually won a Bass Nation National Championship in, I believe, October of 2017. So he's got some experience here, but also in the fall. Brandon Card, guy from Tennessee, he's pretty good in cold water situations. Nick LeBrun, he's a very talented angler coming over from MLF. He won the Grand Lake tournament, and I think he's a pretty good angler overall. Mullins, he's right up there for AOI this year. Brian New, not too far away. I think he'd be a sneaky pick here. I'm sure he fished quite a bit as a co-angler at FLW on Hartwell. I'm sure pretty sure he knows his way around Hartwell and has seen a lot of this water. So I'd expect New to be a pretty sneaky threat in this classic. But for me, I'm going Palmer, and he doesn't really have any experience. Nothing really statistically to go off here. But Jason Christie has always done really well on Lake Hartwell, especially in these spring tournaments, both in his FLW career and almost won a classic that Jordan Lee won. And basically, Luke Palmer is a bit of a poor man's Jason Christie from Oklahoma that you've not really heard much about. So I think he's a sneaky pick in Bucket D, and I expect he could get on a really good bite. A little bit of a high risk, high reward situation, but he's a pretty consistent angler, and this would be a great way for him to break out and make a name for him in his career. Bucket C, lots of great anglers here. I like Schmidt, but there's no grass in Hartwell, and usually Schmidt and success goes with grass, so I would probably avoid him here. Buddy Gross, obviously an offshore angler, can do well anywhere. A lot of talented anglers. Kennedy's always a threat. He's kind of a feast or famine guy, but he's definitely going to swing for it in this classic. Scott Martin, plenty of experience in the FLWs. A lot of top 20, 30 finishes. No real top 10s, but he's going to know his way around Hartwell. He's good with spots and largemouth as well. For me, I'm going to go with Cruz. Take all those prior 3 years. None of them were great. He's definitely fishing well. I just got a sneaky suspicion that Cruz is going to put something together for this classic, and I'm going to use his experience here. He's going to be the one of 3 of those anglers that I'm going to leverage this week in Bucket C. Bucket B, talent rises. A lot more options here. LeHue, just down the road, he did really well in that spring tournament in Hartwell, but when I looked at his early spring kind of cold water tournaments, he doesn't have the greatest success. He also doesn't have a real strong track record in the classic, and sometimes it takes a few classics for guys to really get under their belt before they really start to perform well on the Bassmaster Classic stage. Blaylock is definitely a guy that interests me. Very good angler. Definitely has a lot of experience here. Gustafson has had some success in these waters, so I think he's a sneaky good guy. If we have that winter bite, that kind of moping deal, that slow fishing, electronics, spots, largemouth, I think Gustafson's a sneaky pick. Don't sleep on the Johnstons. They've got some good finishes in their MLF days here as well. I think guys like Lester, Swindle, all good picks. But for me, John Cox also has a couple top 10 finishes and a win on the FLW on Hartwell. And he's pretty much carried my team for the first two Florida tournaments. Got me bonus points, top 10s in both of them. So, hey, I got to keep riding Cox. That didn't sound right. I'm going to keep going with the hot hand in my team, and I'm going to keep going with John Cox. And until he proves me wrong, I'm going to keep putting him on my team. Plus, he's the #1 fantasy angler in all of Bassmaster right now with the number of points he's produced. So if I can get him in Bucket B, we're going to put him on the team. Lastly, Bucket A, you got Hank Cherry going for his 3rd Classic in a row. Matt Airy, he's got some good experience here. Christie, one of the prohibitive favorites. I really wanted to pick Christie. Austin Felix, I could see him doing well here. He's got some experience. He won a college championships on KOE, which is just up the river in a different system, but all part of the same river system. You got another Johnson, you got Polnick, you got Walters. There's so many good anglers. I don't think you can pick a bad angler in A, to be honest. Jacob Prosnick finished fifth in both the 2015 and 2018 Bassmaster Classics on Lake Hartwell. He's a little bit under the radar. He's coming back. He's had some good tournaments in Florida. He's got some good success going. I think this could be a great opportunity for Prosnick to come out firing and have a final day Super 6, if not hoist a Classic championship over his head. So those are my picks. 52 pounds, 2 ounces is where I'm setting my tiebreaker rake. I think that high 40s to mid 50s is right where you're going to want to lock in your tiebreaker. Now let's jump over to Drain the Lake. All right, so we've got 16 anglers down that we can no longer pick. We do pick up a few bonus anglers, and I'm going to leverage at least one of those this week so I can save a few more anglers for the rest of the season. We're going to go Cherry. I'm not a hugest fan, but I think this lines up really well for him. We're going Christie. I think he's got a really good chance to be in the Super 6. KJ Queen's going on the team. Shane LeHue. Nick LeBrun. He's going to be my one open angler that's going to make this Classic roster. Going to put ourselves some J-Pow on here, like we talked about. That's looking really good. I'm going to double down on Palmer and put him on both rosters. And finally, Brandon Cobb, because this is the lake closest to home. He's super comfortable here. I'm going to rock with him, and that is my 8 angler roster for Drain the Lake. So hopefully we keep that rocking. Wish you all the best in all your fancy fishing rosters. Make sure you remember to check out the Beat HellaBass group. Check out the Omnia code below to save you some money on some new tackle. If winter's got you all frustrated and all bound up and you need some more bass fishing fixes, make sure you check out this video right here.